And welcome back. Continuing our wiring repair shenanigans. This is the rear passenger side wheel speed sensor wiring, or ABS sensor wire, however you want to call it. You can see it right there, right at the tip of the flashlight. You can see where it was cut. And I don't know about you, but in my opinion, that's not a wire that just got pulled apart or pinched in something. That's a nice clean straight cut. That's been cut. And it came from the auction like that. So we're gonna have to do some wiring repair on that. It looks like there's enough slack in this cable because of this bend right here that we should be able to, do our normal stripping, soldering, heat shrinking. I'm going to solder this just like I did the connections underneath the dash. I've also got the butt splice connectors that have the sealant in it, but what I want to do to this one first, and sorry I keep shining the light at you, what I want to do to this one first, I'm just going to go ahead and solder this one. Looks like we got about 3, maybe 4, well, probably about 2 connectors and probably a shield that runs in there to eliminate any interference, to keep the wheel speed sensor reading from being erratic. If that's the case, we're going to have to be careful with that inner shielding. But unfortunately, when you order the wheel speed sensor for the rear, you get just a sensor piece that this wire plugs into. And I did do some searching and I can't find a part number for this pigtail, because it looks like the wiring goes, it clips onto the undercarriage here underneath the bed frame, eventually gets itself that way and kind of routes that direction. And I don't know if you can see the passenger one there that we looked at before in some previous videos. You may be able to see it, but that one's in better shape because you can see the connector and you can see where somebody just pulled the guts out of the speed sensor on that side. And yes, that rear driver's side tire has an air leak. It drains down about every couple of days and I have to fill it up. But once we can get this bad boy mobile, it's going to go straight down to the tire shop to get that leak fixed and get the tires inspected and rebalanced, because who knows when the last time that's been done. Okay, so what I'm going to do is see what I can do about getting underneath here and getting this insulation stripped back and getting these wires prepped to be fixed. So give me 1 minute and I'll bring you back. Thank you much. And welcome back. Hopefully you can see that there. It actually is not shielded like I thought it was. It's just a two wire sensor. Looks to be kind of beige or tannish, maybe a little light brown and a green. So we've got them all stripped back. We've got them tinned. I've got some links of extra wire. I'm just going to put a little bit of extra wire between these rather than try to pull these together, because once I got into a clean area wire, it's going to leave a pretty good gap. Now you could push these together. There's enough slack in the brake hose to bring this together, but then this wire would be supporting the weight of this brake hose trying to spring back into its resting position. So I'm just going to bridge this with some spare piece of wire and get everything heat shrinked up, but I'll bring you back when we get to there. But again, you can see that we've got everything tinned up at this point. We're ready to put our wire and our heat shrink in place, and I'll bring you back when that's done. Thank you much. Bye. And welcome back. So I just want to show you what I'm doing here. We're just getting our links of wire sewn back onto our connector that goes to our speed sensor. So what I'm going to do here, we're going to individually shrink wrap each end of this connection. So there's 2 here. Like you can see this end's been done and heat shrinked. Then we're going to do this end and heat shrink it the same way. And then we're going to slide over a couple of pieces of bigger heat shrink just to heat shrink this entire connection up when we get done with it. And then we'll also more than likely just take a piece of wire loom and run it over here as well and secure it with some fabric tape just to make sure that we've got this repair nice and good and secure and protected from the elements. So I'm going to continue to work on this, and I'll bring you back and show you when it's done. But again, you can see we got these connections here. We're going to do the same connections up here, individual heat shrinks on each connection, followed by a couple bigger pieces, and then finally some wire loom. And I'll bring you back in a bit. Bye. And welcome back. So you can see that we've got our splice completed on this part of our wiring, which goes through our body harness. Makes its way up to the ABS eventually. Actually, probably the PCM than the ABS. Other way. This end goes to the wiring, which goes up into the engine compartment. And this end is our other end that goes down to our sensor. So you can see that we've got all that in there. Remember, we've got the individual connections heat shrinked, and then we put one extra piece of heat shrink kind of right here where we started to splice the jacket on both ends. So we've got everything double heat shrinked at this point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come behind ourselves and we're going to put a piece of loom probably about spanning that connection there, again, just to kind of give this some extra support and to keep dirt and crud from kind of, you know, making its way into these connections. So I'm going to cut a piece of loom. We're going to get up here and secure it with some fabric tape, and I'll bring you back. Thank you much. Okay, and welcome back. So you can see that we've got our piece of loom on here. I just went ahead and wrapped it from here to here in fabric tape just to kind of seal that up. Mainly because, again, this connection would normally be completely sealed anyway by the actual factory cable, because it's all just encased in kind of a rubberized outer coating, or rubberized outer shield, if you want to call it that. And since we have some not that we have exposed wiring, because the wiring we put on here also has an insulator on the outside, but just to give it that extra bit of protection, again, having the plastic loom here and then wrapping it with fabric tape to help kind of keep it all sealed, just to kind of keep some of the dirt and debris from, you know, working its way down in where those connections are at. So there we go. So that should get that. You know, we can test it later by hooking a scan tool up and picking the rear wheels up off the ground, and just rotating the wheel, and we should be able to see within the diagnostics of the scan tool a speed reading on this particular back tire. Ooh. Oh, we got, yeah, I don't know if you can see that. It caught my eye. This rotor's got some nice grooves cut in it. So it looks like we'll be doing rotors and pads on this as well, which is nice because it's got rotors in the back and not drums, although not too many vehicles have drums in the rear anymore. But yeah, you can, ooh yeah, you can feel the nice grooves being cut into that. It's probably low on material. Oh well, I expected that we would probably be doing rotors and brakes as well as other things. But anyway, again, we can jack the tire up off the ground, test it later with a scan tool, just spin the tire, and we should be able to generate enough of a signal to see a readout. And as long as we're getting a speed readout, then we know we're good from here all the way up to the PCM, or I should say ABS module. One thing that we will be doing, and I'll cover this probably in a separate video, is that we will go through and replace wheel speed sensors on all 4 wheels, because again, and I can show you the passenger one here a bit better now that I'm underneath the truck. And forgive the camera work, but there you go. You can see the guts of the driver's side rear wheel just was kind of completely pulled out of the holder there, so that central had to be replaced. And if you remember from our last video, our parts video, we have new sensors to go all the way around. Again, something I just want to make sure it doesn't become a problem again later. But well, with that being said, although be it untested, this repair is done. I'll cut it at this point. I'll probably post this just to be a really short video. And like I said, we'll cover doing the wheel speed sensor replacements probably in another video after we get the engine and everything else installed, once we're up to that point. Because we do have a couple more wiring issues that we need to tackle. Another one's going to be is that along with our fault codes, we've got some issues with the rear tail light on the driver's side, and the front light on the passenger side that we still have to diagnose. That being said, I'll let you go on this one, and I'll bring you back for the next one. Thank you much.